I got laid off from Tesla. Do you know who else just got pushed out? Elon. And weirdly, our stories aren't that all different. When I was laid off, it felt choreographed. The signs were there. A casual comment during a leadership call about restructuring, even high performers could be affected. Then a write up for a task I had spent 3 months chasing HR approval on. If you've ever worked in management, you know HR doesn't work for you. The day it happened, company layoffs were already trending on social media. I was in the office, I'd smoothed over a client issue, and I was prepping for my boss's visit that day. He showed up, brought HR in on the phone, and let me go. Told me I was the only one he was firing in person this round, as if it were some kind of honor. But you know what's interesting? Watching Elon's departure from Doge, I began to notice the same patterns. Of course, it was a different scale, but it was definitely the same playbook. The sudden shift in communication, the feeling of slowly being edged out, the inconsistent messaging, the intense pressure, the lack of a heads up. It made me wonder, do even billionaires get laid off like the rest of us? I was a store leader in sales and delivery. I'd been at Tesla just shy of 6 years. My day to day, it was a blur of meetings, one on ones, reviews, fire prevention, fire response if necessary. Also, depending on the time of the quarter, there'd be a lot of scrambling. Once a shipment of cars intended for Puerto Rico was rerouted to my store and late, we flipped those cars and delivered them by midnight. It was the last day of the quarter. And that's the kind of team I had. What clued me in that things were off wasn't a missed goal, it was a leadership call. And someone casually mentioned that even high performers might be cut in a restructuring. Then I got written up for a task that I'd been chasing HR approval on for 3 months. I told my boss, if you're going to write me up, do it for something that I actually did. She didn't even blink. And HR, not an option. And HR protects the company, not you. That pressure right after the write up is what finally led me to discover I had a heart condition. It was pressure just for pressure's sake, unless my boss was hoping I'd quit. But I wasn't about to leave my money on the table. It got worse. I was told during an annual review that I couldn't rate my top performers as excellent unless they were doing my job. Meanwhile, some of my peers weren't even doing their jobs, but they were getting high ratings. That's when it hit me. Tesla doesn't care about people the way it says it does, at least not anymore. My team knew I was struggling with my health. My team shielded me a lot from the stress. They supported me like I wish leadership had. After I was let go, a few of them left as well. One even told me he'd stayed longer just to help me out. My boss, I'd backed her until the harassment started, and then I went cold. You can only be dragged so many times before you stop showing up warm. By the time I'd left, I had one word for the culture: performative. Especially post COVID, that's when they started hiring these former CarMax people. These were folks who didn't care about the mission. So, no, I wouldn't go back. If I were still there, I'd be struggling to reconcile Elon's behavior. But the layoff, it gave me something that I hadn't had in a while: freedom. So when I saw the news about Elon being quietly removed from the Department of Government Efficiency, I had to laugh, not because it's funny, instead because it felt kind of familiar. First came the leaks, the articles about infighting, and then 47 started pinning the blame directly on Elon. Then came the quiet rollback of things that he'd been pushing since it was actually illegal, those pesky judges. I mean, look at the big beautiful bill, it pretty much undoes everything. And then finally, Elon himself announced it on Twitter, of course, that he was no longer a part of it. It looked less like a resignation and more like a strategic off-ramp. No press, please, no statement, just distance. And I thought, yep, that's what it looks like when a company is done with you. It's not always loud, sometimes it's just clinical. The irony: Tesla let go of people who actually helped drive the mission. And now Elon's been nudged out while supposedly driving the administration's efficiency mission. While I realize he has 2 days shy of his 130-day cap as a special government employee, they've broken so many norms. Why wouldn't they break this one too? This helps me realize that power isn't permanent, not even for Elon. It runs on credibility, on people buying in. And when the people stop, so does your power. It's really a good reminder these so called disruptors aren't self made, they're just standing on someone's investment. Their money, trust, labor, time. When that support dries up, so does the illusion of genius. So watching Elon fade out of that government spot, it didn't make me bitter, it made me feel seen. Turns out when the system is done with you, it doesn't matter who you are. Has your job ever made you feel disposable? I want you to share your thoughts in the comments. The truth is, being laid off initially felt like rejection. Now it was a redirect. It wasn't about performance, it wasn't even personal. The group I left with, many of us had pre 2017 stock. It had real value, and that made us inconvenient. It turns out it's easier to let go of the people who helped build the thing than it is to pay them what they're worth. And honestly, that moment gave me something I didn't have before: space. Courage. I started saying yes to the ideas I used to set aside. I now had the strength to bring them to life, when before I didn't have the time or the courage. To anyone going through this now, I know it hurts. I know it's scary, but you will get your footing. Maybe next week, maybe next year, but you're not broken. And when you do, you'll be proud of the way you handled it. Not because you faked strength, but because you knew it wasn't about you. It never was. So no, I don't regret it. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not bitter. What I am is free. And I'm building something that never would have existed had I stayed. The company's changed a lot. Elon's been pushed out of yet another thing, and the people who built the foundation, we're still standing. I left a company that used to build the future. That's before I stopped valuing the people who made that future possible. Now I'm creating something of my own. No rockets, no robots, just real life with a little more peace. If you've ever been laid off, pushed out, or just quietly replaced, subscribe. This corner of the internet is for us. As for Elon, no one's buying the cars, and the rockets keep exploding, but he'll be busy nonetheless. He has a humanoid robot and his AI. We all cope in different ways. He probably feels disposable now despite being loyal. Okay, bye. Oh, watch this.